Russian man like inside the dark, call me Bill Snatcher. Just the brother for the rapture. I hang live, holding on strong, hard to capture. Extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a garden and start killing. It's manifesting. The God's work like appliances, dealing in my sight like a lot.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, and today I want to discuss the growing concern that people have after Boruto manga chapter 67, which is this belief that Boruto and Momoshiki are going to replace Naruto and Kurama as the reigning tag team champions in the Naruto universe. Now, this certainly is not a new concern that people have, that Boruto and Momoshiki will become Naruto and Kurama 2.0. This worry has been existing in the fandom as far back as the early manga chapters, back in the car arc where Momoshiki briefly appeared, and at the time, people were saying that Boruto was going to become a jinchuuriki for Momoshiki, and that was pretty close to accurate, saying that though there are enough differences that it kind of deserves its own video. However, given the latest events of the manga, it's time to give this a very serious discussion on why there's a likelihood of this taking place, which is something that for longtime viewers of mine, you know that I am vehemently against this occurring. However, even I can kind of see that there's a bit of writing on the wall here. Let's start things off with the moment that Momoshiki revived Boruto. Upon first glance, it seems pretty straightforward enough that Momoshiki resurrected Boruto, because if he allowed Boruto to stay dead, then it would mean that Momoshiki's soul would cease to exist, which is exactly what happened to Ishiki after he was killed, following his own resurrection into Jougan's body, where he was killed before he could pass on the karma to a different person. That's great motivation for Momoshiki. It's believable that somebody who uses karma to cheat death and was taking chakra pills to extend his own biological immortality would be somebody that fears death. However, there's a bit of a cause for concern depending on which side of the conversation you're on. If you're someone who wants Boruto to have a pet alien inside of him, then this next bit of information is going to make you very pleased. But if you're like me and you're someone who's viewing this as a hard pill that you're eventually going to have to swallow inevitably, then this isn't going to be the best view for you to look at. So what stands out is that when Momoshiki is speaking to Boruto, the moment that he starts laughing, the way that the laughter was translated is something that kind of makes me pause. So the laughter is translated into the standard laugh of ha ha ha, the same laughter that you typically see amongst friends and associates. Typically, when you have evil laughter, the laughter will be more akin to ku ku ku, or ku ku ku, or muhahaha, or muha H-A-H-A, or it'll be translated as ha ha ha, which is H-U-H-U-H-U, or it'll be translated as he he he, which is H-E-H-E, or it'll be translated as the ga ha 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 ha, which is G-Y-A-H-A-H-A-H. Now, until the anime adapts this scene later on, this is going to be a bit of a gray area to look at, simply because we won't be able to hear which laughter it actually is. Now, the reason why I say this is that when it comes to translating Japanese to English, as I've told you guys quite a few times, it's not as easy or hear the words and go, there's the translation. Things like the surrounding context matter, and there's a little bit of wiggle room for the translator to take liberty with their interpretation, something that Viz Media has done in the past before. Sometimes this works out with no issues, and other times you get translation errors that change the whole atmosphere of the entire scene. For instance, you have a few scenes with Sasuke in the manga regarding his relationship with Itachi in the Naruto manga. The same thing when Viz Media translated Jiraiya as saying what beauty and monster strength. Jiraiya never called Sakura beautiful in the manga. It might seem like a small thing to point out, but the type of laughter that the voice actor uses is going to go a long way towards establishing the direction in which this is ultimately going. If it's the normal laugh, then you could see the process of Momoshiki gradually working with Boruto, changing over time to a softened stance. If it's the evil laughter, then you got more of a question of how long Momoshiki stays at odds with Boruto. However, while I personally don't like the idea of Boruto and Momoshiki sharing Thunder Burgers together, while Momoshiki stops time and manifests in front of Boruto, or this idea of the two of them sitting alone in a room with candles lit, talking about Momoshiki's tragic backstory or whatever they talk about when they're alone, I'm going to say that I'm keeping my expectations in check after this moment in the manga, And I think anyone that's on my side of the conversation should be thinking about this as well. At the end of the day, Boruto isn't just a shonen. Boruto has all the markings of being a gateway shonen, something that is a first-time series for quite a few people, which is crazy as it sounds to some of us. There are people who skip both Naruto anime or they skip the Naruto manga and they just started with Boruto. I know this for a fact from messages I've got from people that Boruto is their first manga or it's their first anime. They weren't trying to read 710 chapters of Naruto between the Naruto manga and Naruto Gaiden, nor were they trying to watch 720 episodes of the Naruto anime. They just wanted to start with Boruto because it was a new series and it looked cool in their opinion, which means that they likely aren't alone. And you got a lot of people that play the Storm games and say, oh, I'm caught up, which that in itself is a huge problem in of itself. However, the reason why I say this is that Boruto hasn't exactly established itself in an environment like, say, Jujutsu Kaisen, where the world lets you know very early on that no character was safe. Something that current manga readers of Jujutsu Kaisen will be able to tell you. Basically, that whole argument that Sukuna was Kurama 2.0 and was going to help Yuji out whenever he needed help in battle. By the time we got to the Shibuya incident arc in the manga, which is less than 100 chapters into the story, the same people who were thinking we were going to see a happy, action-packed story where Yuji, Megami, Gojo, and Nobu would go out on missions together. They bond, there'd be a sense of camaraderie. Those same people got their souls ripped out over the bloodshed that became the Shibuya arc, and it'll be the same thing when it gets animated in the anime next year. I'd always wanted to see Boruto and Momoshiki's relationship be something closer to that, where Boruto loses sleep, not over the possibility of Momoshiki killing people he cared about or people around him, but instead it actually being something that took place and there being an actual mountain of corpses that Boruto was responsible for the death because he wasn't in control of his body. However, Jujutsu Kaisen isn't as much of a gateway shonen as a series like Boruto. It's darker than a lot of your gateway series. Boruto's had to deal with some of the harder topics that exist in the world. The anime's touched on stuff like suicide very lightly, but it's very much a sequel to the Naruto story, and it isn't going to go as far into this realm, and in some cases it's not even going to go as dark as Naruto went, which, don't get me wrong, Naruto has dark moments and aspects. It's one of the things I like about the series, but Naruto stops short of going too dark because ultimately Kishimoto was writing a standard shonen series. Boruto is different from Naruto personality-wise, but both of them have a quality about them that is similar, which is that both of them, through their words and through their actions, have a way of reaching the hearts of those who are around them. Now, don't get me wrong, we didn't see Boruto use a talk no jutsu on Ishiki. For as many problems as I had with Ishiki in the manga, even I can admit that the fact that he wasn't a victim of a talk no jutsu sermon from the Book of Uzumaki, chapter 3, verse 7, it says a lot. However, we did have a situation with, say, Al, where through the prior words and mostly through the actions and resolve of Boruto, we saw Al become a redeemed character. However, there's low-hanging fruit here. Just as Kurama watched Naruto over time and was impacted by his actions, I'm not ruling out Momoshiki being changed, either due to his own need for survival, which hinges on Boruto staying alive, or due to Boruto's own actions and words changing him over time. And before anyone says this is unprecedented, this is too cookie cutter, I'd say that while I absolutely detest this idea, do not get this twisted. A lot of people seem to think that because I talk about a topic, I automatically take the stance of the topic. That is not the truth. However, I will say, Momoshiki would not be the first Otsutsuki that we've seen change. Kaguya in Naruto's manga was stated by Hagoromo to have had taken an attachment to the people to the point where she was viewed and loved like a goddess, but once she ate the chakra fruit, she became someone who ruled over everybody like a demon. In the anime, we got more context to what happened. Kaguya's heart was changed by a human. She fell in love. She had children with that human. Part of her change came from the circumstances that followed after that. If we take the anime continuity into regard, that's your answer for it. Now, Toneri was perfectly content with destroying all life on Earth and remaking the population with Hinata as his wife, at least according to the official movie light novel, which is why that man never saw the plot twist coming. But even Toneri, after being physically defeated by Naruto and spared from death by Naruto when Toneri tried to blow himself up, Even Toneri had a change of heart according to the Boruto movie novel that Ukyo Kodachi, the former writer for the Boruto manga, wrote. And in that Boruto movie novel, it explained that Toneri explained everything he knew about the Otsutsuki time, which at that point in the timeline was practically nothing. At that point in time, he didn't know who Momoshiki, Kinshiki, and Urashiki were. Momoshiki having a change of heart wouldn't make him the first one, and given Masashi Kishimoto has a penchant for parallels, much like George Lucas in Star Wars, where he likes to refer to the stories as being like poetry because they rhyme, I don't rule this out at all. In fact, I'm looking at this like a hard pill that I as a fan am going to have to swallow in a few years. However, I want to know from you guys, where do you guys fall in this conversation? Do you want to see Boruto have his moment where he tells Momoshiki, "Let's go, Momoshiki," or "Momoshiki, you're a leaf shinobi," or "Momoshiki, here's a thunder burger"? Are you in that camp? And if so, I really want to know. Like, I don't like that idea at all. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But I understand this is a shonen, it's likely gonna happen. So I want to know where you guys fall in this conversation. Genuinely curious. But so always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.